Like people, sometimes you go, wow, they just work together.
Exactly. And I think it has to do with that. You know, I'm not really looking now, I guess, for as much as I'm looking for I want the soul connection, but I'm more about the brain connection. I'm a very logical, I like to have kind of logic in my life because I used to be kind of owned by emotion in a way. I was very emotional. And that's what I meant by, I think we spun off of what I meant by tough. So I used to be very emotional. And that used to kind of
cry about things, and now you get over things.
And also more like, I would really kind of just like, I would just become such a recluse. I have that tendency. My dad said everyone's just getting on social distancing. He's been doing it since 1992. Like, my dad's been on social. I said it as soon as we walked in here. You know,
that was around achy breaky heart time.
Yes.
Right. 92 is.
That was right when I was born, and that is when it was all crazy. So that also explains, I mean, I think somewhat of my, just who I am, my personality, how I kind of
Did your
move.
dad talk to you about what the anxiety was like for him when he became famous?
Well, my dad.
Because your dad was for people who don't know, in the early 90s, your dad was a fucking superstar.
But he had a very different lifestyle than I did, as my dad grew up in a house that didn't even have an indoor bathroom. My dad hadn't gone to the dentist until he was 30 years old. My dad had never gone to a dentist. My dad grew up poor. My uncle still lives in their same house. He's got an indoor bathroom now because my dad's a G and put that in. But he still lives in the same house. And so my dad grew up in you probably have seen it. It's one of the poorer areas in the country. My dad grew up in Appalachia and Kentucky. So did my mom.
I know where that
so I've been there a bunch, and I've been able to see where my dad's from. So he had a different relationship to fame because he went from nothing to everything. I went kind of from having, everything. If we look at really the way I grew up, lived in a big house on a big farm. The only thing that was sad about it is we didn't have kind of neighbors or normal kids around, because I lived on this big kind of isolated farm, but went to school, had this normal life. But I mean, if we really look at it, I didn't know when I was a kid that I had everything, but I had everything. So I went from having it all to having more. And that, I don't know what's harder to kind of humanize, I guess, about yourself, because my life is very unique, and so it's very hard for me to sit with someone and relate to them. And I think that made me really scared, because my mom doesn't like to be alone, so I have that fear in my mind if I don't want to be alone. But I think what makes you lonely isn't the amount of people are around, but like, am I relating to people? Am I really connecting?
Well, you must have a hard time connecting to people because they don't have the same life experience as you. Your reality, it's like you're in a fishbowl. You're in a different reality, and you're hanging out next to people that aren't in the fishbowl.
Here's the difference of the fishbowl. So we usually put the fish in the fishbowl, and you were born
in the fishbowl,
right? We do it, and I was born into it. But then again, I put myself into it. So if you get a beta, you're the one that does it.
You did it when you were a little kid, and you didn't know what you were doing.
But my parents didn't really want me to. So my dad wouldn't even really go with us to the auditions. He was actually kind of mad at my mom about it. That was kind of a thing. And then my mom's like, I'm going to do this. So, she stays in this small town. She's going to be like everybody else that just ends up on drugs. So she took me to L.A. Mom, like, hello. She didn't even smoke weed yet. That's not the AB that I've ever heard of. Like, let's avoid drugs in Nashville, so let's get more and better, a lot better drugs in L.A.
So, but we're going way off track. What bothers you about being more resilient? Because that's what it sounds like. It doesn't. When you say more tough, you're talking about the difference between someone who reacts overly emotionally to something. You would fall to the ground and curl up in a ball and cry about things, and now you can get over them. That, to me, is the sign of perspective.
Okay, so here's where it is, and I don't even want to have